Welcome, everybody, to Innate Interviews. I am your host, Dr. Haig John. And tonight we've got our good friend, Dr. Scott Little. I'm very excited to see him again. And welcome, Scott Little, man. Nice to see you again.
Good day, Haig, and everybody else.
Yeah, last time we were in Colorado, we got to spend some time together tinkering around with chiropractic stuff and headpieces and talking chiropractic all week. It was a blast. I had a good time there.
I had a great time. You had a great time. I think your family was kind of like looking at their watch most of the time because Breckenridge was forthcoming.
Yeah. Well, you think about as a parent how many times we wait on our kids. They can wait for us once in a while too.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. We've talked about a lot of chiropractic stories. You've told me a little bit before, but why don't you tell me, what got you into chiropractic? What excites you about it?
Well, first off, I began Indiana University in the fall of 1985 with a desire of becoming a veterinarian. So I was in a pre-med track fixing to transfer to Purdue University and go to vet school. And that first semester, I spent every waking moment that I wasn't in class and far too many hours that I should have been in class with this couple who were veterinarians. They just started their practice. She was a small animal vet. He was a large animal vet. I had
Cool.
so much fun, but I got a D in physics, thus ending any opportunity I ever had of becoming a veterinarian. So I became, while I was in college, a farrier. A farrier is a horseshoer, a guy or gal who trims horses' feet and sometimes puts
Yep.
shoes on, etc. And I did that throughout my college. And when I graduated, I hurt my back. And I ended up in a chiropractor's office and found that his job was pretty cool because not only did my back pain go away, but I had had daily headaches from the time I was in the first grade. Here I am, a college grad and always a C student, had terrible reading comprehension and did very average in school because I just had this daily headache and I had strep throat every about 6 months or so, and I'd always go on antibiotics and these things. And I had back pain. And when I went to Life College and got a student intern, they took x-rays and said, oh, you've got spina bifida. No wonder you get these bouts of back pain. Anyway, all that to say, I looked at this guy as his job was better than mine. And I thought, they give you air conditioning. And I investigated what it would take to become a chiropractor. It involved going back and retaking physics, which I did at
Right.
Life College. Had Raj and got a B plus this time, and had to take organic chemistry at Life. And I spent 10 weeks in Marietta, Georgia. And quite frankly, Dr. Sid freaked me out. And I went to DE and Sigafus and Sotilli and Fred Barge and Santo, all of them freaked me out. Dr. Sid with his keys, the money chant, everything freaked me out. Universal intelligence, innate intelligence. I thought it was a hit on my Christian faith and theology, and I could not leave Marietta fast enough. I enrolled in Logan, and I remember my student intern telling me, if you go to Logan, you'll never hear the words innate intelligence again. And I said, that's what I'm looking for. And I get
Okay.
to Logan, and some students pulled me aside. They'd gotten the big idea in spite of the college and said, no, 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 no. You go back to DE. You re-listen to Dr. Sid. You re-listen to Dr. Sigafus and Santo and Sotilli and even doctors whose last name doesn't begin with an S. And I did, and I would sleep on people's couches, and I would sit in the back of Logan and read my green books and listen to my Reggie Gold cassettes. And I went to Spartanburg and learned kale upper cervical, and we hired a guy from Palmer to come and teach us side posture toggle. And I had to go to the wrong school to become the right chiropractor. My goodness, if I had stayed at Life, I would have been the coat wearing, stethoscope wearing, I would have been the wrong chiropractor. Gosh, if I had gone to Sherman and had Dr. Borla as the president and Dooley as the dean of clinics, I would have been the white coat wearing guy. So I had to go to the wrong school to become the right chiropractor, and because I went to Logan, I had to fight for everything I became. But the one thing I got exposure to was the life and times and legacy of one Dr. I.N.TERFACE, and that uh, were it not for that, I wouldn't be the chiropractor I am today from a technique standpoint, my art and et cetera. And so had I had it to do over again, I would do it 1,000 times exactly the way I did. Plus, that's where I met my wife of now over 30 years, Karen. So anyway, that's a little bit about my background.
That's a very powerful story because, you bloom where you are. Two of my very good friends and mentors also went to very non-chiropractic schools. One was James Sigafus, the other was Joseph Epplett. And, they needed that. The Sigafus used to tell the story. He went to DE, came back home, and threw all his PT equipment down the stairs. He didn't even want to sell it. Nobody should be using this stuff. We need to get people well. And he became, a zealot. And we need more of these zealots, people understanding I need to tell more people about what we're doing. And you've spread that out in such a beautiful way. And, you are adjusting a lot of animals now. You're an animal chiropractor.
Correct. Correct.
And, I want to touch back on the toughness part because you've also developed an instrument, a detection type of instrument. Would you call it that?
Well, it is a simple skin conductance monitor. I would absolutely not call it a detection
Okay.
instrument. I would call it like a stethoscope is doesn't detect anything. It amplifies something so the practitioner's nervous system can receive and so forth. So does this. Dr. Toffness got into some trouble with the FDA because of his description and calling it a detection instrument. So that's an important key that we can address, but you
I
wanted to
didn't
talk
realize
about
it.
something else first.
Well, I didn't realize that was one of the reasons why. I have one of, I guess we would call it like the second generation. There was a luthier who made them, that makes violins and stringed instruments, and I have one of those with plenty of powder residue all over it. So it's well loved and well used, saved a lot of lives, is what I like to say. So why don't we touch on that a moment of really
Okay.
what you've developed, which is truly awesome, right? I've been to your clinic, I've been to your area, we've hung out together, served my whole family, which I got that adjustment was wonderful, and you cared for my whole family. I even have the crystal. I carry that crystal around with me in my suitcase. Okay. And I use that myself because the technique I developed has a lot to do with vectoring. And I use that myself to adjust myself when I'm stuck in an airport or something. So, maybe talk about a little bit about what you've developed and what you're working on.
Well, let me just back up. I'm at Logan College in 1992 is when I started. Dr. Ian Toffness, who was the first of 25 chiropractors in his family, had died about 15 months prior, but his legacy was alive and kicking at Logan at the time. About 17 or 18 of his family members went to Logan, and so his presence was profound. And the two gentlemen who taught us Logan basic technique were really Toffness practitioners and headed up the Toffness research department, which was literally a room the size of your college dorm room down in the basement of Logan, and they would conduct research there. Dr. Beatrice Hagen was the president of the school at the time, and she could be seen carrying around her Toffness instrument to adjust other faculty and so forth. So I was fascinated by this device that they were using that gave them so much confidence, competence, and certainty in where to adjust and how to apply a very light vector of facilitation, just like in Logan Basic, 4 to 7 to 10 ounces or so. But I learned that I had no access to this because prior to Dr. Toffness passing away in 1990, the FDA came down on him and put a permanent ban on him teaching his technique or manufacturing his device. Now, I have right here Dr. Toffness's patent that he was given in 1971, in which he describes the principle under which his device worked. It was his profound belief that in the presence of vertebral subluxation, there was a microwave radiation of 69.5 gigahertz that emanated from the body that we could not feel with our hand, but he designed a device that, I don't know as you can see this, but in this picture is a cone and these lenses and another cone and then a rubbing plate. And his principle was this: that the radiation goes up the cone and through the lenses and so forth, and then changes the resonance of the rubbing plate. Therefore, the practitioner merely rubs their finger on the rubbing plate. And because of this phenomena that has taken place, there is a squeak or a resonance change. Now, if I humbly respect Dr. Ian Toffness and his contributions to the profession, but honestly, Hag, if you and I were to sit down in a coffee shop with each of us with this patent, listening to his description of how it worked, I think we would both conclude, man, this guy was smart, but I don't think that's exactly how it worked. And his emphasis was on his device. His emphasis was on how his device worked. And I'm the device. Heg, you're the device. We bring our educated intelligence to the table, our innate intelligence, our intuition, our innate field, and that combines with the patient's innate intelligence and their matter and their field, and that we get that sensory perception processed by the brain, and we get an autonomic nervous system response that includes heart rate variability, skin temperature, muscle tone, brainwave activity, and electrodermal activity. So I humbly submit that the device that you have and the device that I have created is in no way, shape, or form a Toffness radiation detector, a Toffness sensometer, a Toffness instrument, or any device that works on a similar principle, because I believe his principle to have been wrong. Now, if you had seen Dr. Toffness using his device and you see me using my device, you would say, and you'd be right, you two are doing the exact same thing. But the principle under which it works is where the difference lies. And because of this FDA ruling now 40 years ago, 40 years of chiropractors have been forbidden to monitor subtle energetic changes in their finger pads as a result of an autonomic arousal to a positive finding, i.e., vertebral subluxation. And while I would never teach a non-chiropractor how to locate, analyze, or facilitate the correction of vertebral subluxation, every one of the 8.2 people on this planet has an autonomic nervous system that changes with stress and arousal.
Yeah.
One could use our device if one was a massage therapist to implement it to increase their confidence, competence, and certainty by monitoring subtle energetic changes in their finger pads. So, here is one of my devices. It's not fully put together yet, but it's a beautiful device made out of Osage orange and canary wood. And the thing that you have to understand is in our device, we have no amplifying cones or lenses or anything, because all we are doing, all that is important is having a surface to monitor our subtle energetic changes in our finger pads. And where we start in training is to not have a device at all, but to find how our autonomic nervous system responds to stress or serenity just by rubbing our thumb pad against our finger pad. That's the key. I'm the instrument. You are the instrument. God gave you this app that you had no idea that you had, that you could have been using to increase your confidence, competence, and certainty, and apply it to your chiropractic analysis. Or that's what gave me my secret sauce in adjusting babies or in adjusting animals, because I had a tool that I could scan the patient and that maybe served my needs better than muscle testing or leg length analysis or other forms. And really what I look at this as being is palpating the energy field. We still use our fingers to palpate the matter of the body, but the more we understand this innate field that I have, that I bring to the table, and the patient has, that I'm analyzing, there's this connection, this exchange of energy and information. And I believe that we get a lot of information that we can confirm, binary yes no information, through our finger pads. So anyway, that's what I have been doing for 31 years. And were it not for having gone to Logan, I would have not been exposed to that work. And while Dr. I.N.TERFACE is my chiropractic hero, I stand on his shoulders and say, okay, you looked over here and described it this way and got into trouble for doing so. But that caused me to look over here. And I think anyone with a 10th grade science education can understand the principle that we describe and recognize the validity of it and how it makes complete sense.
Well, thank you, Dr. Scott. Man, that was that to me, our instruments are ourself, right? That's what I teach in innate adjusting, amplifying that, getting in tune with it. The title page of chiropractic, it's the initial introduction from D.D. Palmer. Chiropractic is based on tone, and that vibration is emitted out of us. If for me in that palpation, if there's a change in that vibration, an aberrant wave from the rest of this whole system, that body can tell you that. We just have to tune into it. And that instrument is absolutely wonderful. I'm excited to use one day in the near future.
So I call it the interface,
I.N.TERFACE. Thank you.
I spell it all in caps, and I put a dot. I put a period, Scott, after the I and the N to pay tribute to Dr. I.N. Toughness. But an interface, by definition, is the point in which multiple systems, people, organizations come together to collaborate. And we are nothing without our educated that we bring to the table. That's why I say, while I would never teach a reflexologist, let's say, to locate, analyze, and facilitate the correction of subluxation, I might teach her to, or coach her in finding what her educated brings to the table, a different system of analysis, someone who does acupressure or something. This serves simply as a confirmation. And we have respected practitioners that we would both know, I won't name because I don't have permission, but who said, I took that training, I loved that, but for me, I just hear sort of an audible, or I feel it in my gut, or there's a John Brimhall, a technique guru, tells a story from the stage whereby he did this type of work and went to a county fair. There's a palm reader, there's a tarot card. Somebody, he had his fortune told, and as he's leaving, she says, "Wait a minute, you're some sort of healer." Yes. He says, I do that. She says, I see you rubbing something. Yeah, I do that. And she says, you don't need to do that anymore. So somebody might say, well, I just get this information intuitively. That's just a crutch. And for me, walking around with one leg, theoretically, so metaphorically speaking, I will monitor these subtle energetic changes in my autonomic nervous system as I ask yes, no questions. Is it sacrum? Is it right? Is it left? Is it second sacrotubercle? Is it the sacrotuberous ligament? Is it the atlas? Is it right, left, posterior? And all the while monitoring my autonomic nervous system, or all the while monitoring my autonomic nervous system. That's where my confidence, competence, and certainty comes. Someone else, it's muscle testing. Someone else, it's leg length analysis. Someone else, it's just what I feel, what I palpate, and I don't care what one's analysis is. But for 40 years, we have been forbidden to monitor subtle energetic changes in our finger pads, and I seek to spend the next 40 years influencing and sharing this with as many chiropractors or even other practitioners, to share with them this built-in app that came factory preloaded that we didn't know that we had, that proves to be extremely valuable.
I like that analogy of your app you were downloaded in the beginning. It was your initial reboot. Well, Scott, it was great talking with you today. I loved having you on. You gave me a lot of great insights, and I'm so happy to see that uh, it it not what did you say, integrator? No, it's not integrator. Say
No,
it
no, no.
again.
We call it the interface
Interface.
simple.
I apologize.
It technically it's the interface simple skin conductance monitor, because it's nothing but a lens stretched over a drum that we use to monitor subtle energetic changes in our galvanic skin response or electrodermal activity.
So let's make sure you send me all your links and everything for that, and so we can put in the description of this video, and we'll have all that information. Someone wants to contact you, ask you more, talk about animal adjusting and all those things that you're doing right now. And I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Haig. I appreciate you.
Have a great day. And everybody, oh, this is just a shameless plug for my seminar, October 24th and 25th. It's innate newborn adjusting at Life University. So, contact me. You go onto our website, drhaigjohn.com, and we'll get you going. All right. Have a gorgeous day, Scott. Thanks for sharing time with us.
Thank you so much.